For thousands of years, the world believed the Ark of the Covenant vanished from Jerusalem without a trace. But what if it didn't vanish? What if it was brought to the heart of Africa, guided by the son of an enigmatic queen who turned the spiritual axis of the world upside down? Before she was a queen, her land belonged to a monster. Ancient African lore whispers of an empire enslaved by a terrifying serpent king, demanding blood and sacrifice. This is the untold story of how one young woman's family slew a dragon and birthed a dynasty that would outlive Rome. History is often written by the victors, but sacred truth is preserved by the dust of ancient lands. For centuries, the world has whispered tales of a mysterious sovereign, a woman of unmatched wealth, beauty, and intellect. The West calls her the Queen of Sheba. Arabic legends speak of Bilqis. But here, in the highlands of Ethiopia, she has a name that echoes through the halls of eternity: Queen Makeda. Who was this enigmatic monarch? Was she a mere myth born of desert folklore? Or was she the architect of one of the greatest spiritual dynasties in human history? To find the true Queen of Sheba, we must travel beyond the pages of conventional history. We must enter the world of the Kebra Nagast, the glory of the kings, and the sacred traditions of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. Before Makeda wore the crown, Ethiopian oral tradition and folklore speak of a darker, chaotic era. Legend has it that the land of Tigray and the surrounding kingdom of Saba were ruled not by a man but by a monstrous serpent king named Arwet. For generations, this dragon-like beast demanded blood, demanding the sacrifice of the kingdom's finest maidens and livestock. Desperate to free her people, a noble family stepped forward. Makeda's father, a heroic figure named Angabo, struck a pact with the people. If he could slay the beast, his family would inherit the throne. Using a mixture of poison-laced meat, Angabo destroyed the serpent Arwe, liberating the kingdom from its ancient terror. Upon his death, his brilliant, fiercely independent daughter ascended the throne. At a young age, Makeda became the undisputed Queen of the South, the Kebra Nagast, and the journey to Jerusalem. Under Queen Makeda's rule, the kingdom of Saba flourished. It was a vast trading empire spanning the Red Sea, connecting the Horn of Africa with the Arabian Peninsula. Makeda was not just a ruler of land, she was a seeker of ultimate truth. The Kebra Nagast, the holy 14th century Ethiopian text, records that Makeda learned of a wise king in the north through her chief merchant Tamrin. Tamrin returned from Jerusalem with astonishing tales of King Solomon, a ruler who possessed wisdom granted directly by the Creator. Queen Makeda, dressed in royal crimson and gold Ethiopian textiles, boarding a massive caravan. Hundreds of camels laden with gold, precious gems, and spices. Intrigued and unsatisfied with the pagan worship of her ancestors, Makeda made a monumental decision. She declared, "I will go to him. I desire wisdom, and I will seek it, for wisdom is better than gold and silver." With a massive caravan carrying the treasures of Africa, history is written in stone, but truth is often preserved in the whispers of tradition. For millennia, the Horn of Africa has guarded secrets that bridge the Old Testament with the New. Among these, none is more captivating than the journey of Queen Makeda, the Queen of Sheba, and a miraculous wood that healed a queen, tested a king, and ultimately altered the destiny of humanity. In Ethiopian oral tradition and sacred folklore, Queen Makeda was a ruler of unmatched wisdom and beauty. Yet she bore a hidden burden. Folklore tells us that due to an ancient curse or an encounter with a serpentine demon, one of her feet was transformed, deformed into the hoof of a goat, known in local tradition as Yeger Kwend, Sichi Iwe, the horn of the foot. Hearing of the legendary wisdom of King Solomon of Israel, Makeda set forth on a grueling journey from Aksum to Jerusalem. She sought answers to the riddles of life, but destiny had also prepared a cure for her hidden affliction. As the queen approached the palace of Solomon, she had to cross a body of water. Serving as a footbridge was a peculiar piece of timber. This was no ordinary wood. According to theological tradition, this wood grew from a seed planted at Adam's grave, a tree destined to hold the weight of cosmic history. The moment Makeda's foot touched the sacred wood, a miracle occurred. The curse was broken. The Yigerken vanished, replaced by perfect human flesh. Recognizing the immense holiness of the timber, the queen refused to walk upon it further. Instead, she knelt and paid homage to it, prophesying that this very wood would one day bear a burden that would end the kingdom of the Jews. Witnessing the miracle and hearing her prophecy, a startled King Solomon ordered the wood to be removed from public view. It was buried deep within the earth, or as some traditions suggest, submerged in the pool of Bethesda, giving the waters their legendary healing properties. But the connection between the Queen of Sheba and the final days of biblical antiquity does not end with the wood. Ethiopian tradition speaks of the massive wealth Makeda gifted to Solomon, including specialized silver coins, minted in her realm or stamped by her hand as a token of statecraft and alliance. Passed down through royal treasuries across centuries, these very pieces of silver remained in circulation. Through the winding corridors of history, 30 of these ancient coins found their way into the hands of the Sanhedrin. In a twist of tragic irony, the silver originally brought by a queen to honor God's wisdom was used to finance the ultimate betrayal. The 30 pieces of silver paid to Judas Iscariot to betray Jesus Christ. Centuries passed, and the prophecy of Queen Makeda neared its fulfillment. As the day of the crucifixion approached, the Roman authorities looked for a sturdy beam to construct a cross for a condemned Galilean. They unearthed the very wood that had rested in the earth since Solomon's reign, the same wood that had healed the Queen of Sheba's foot. The timber that once brought physical restoration to a searching African queen was now fashioned into the true cross, the mescal. The wood that healed her foot became the instrument upon which Christ was crucified, transforming a symbol of execution into the ultimate beacon of spiritual salvation for the world. To the secular historian, these accounts exist in the beautiful realm of folklore and religious tradition. But to millions of believers in the Horn of Africa, history and faith are inseparable. The story of Queen Makeda is not just a tale of an ancient journey. It is a sacred tapestry showing how an African queen's quest for truth foretold the centerpiece of Christian redemption. Makeda traversed thousands of miles of harsh desert. She did not travel to submit, but to test. She sought to challenge the wisest man on earth with hard questions and riddles, testing the limits of his famed intellect. The majestic golden Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem. The Grand Court. King Solomon sitting on his ivory throne. Queen Makeda enters, radiant and poised. When the Queen of the South met the King of Israel, it was a meeting of equals. For months, they engaged in deep philosophical and spiritual debates. Solomon answered all her questions. Nothing was hidden from him. Makeda was spellbound, not just by Solomon's wealth, but by his devotion to the one true God. She renounced the worship of the sun and stars, embracing the God of Israel. A lavish royal banquet. Dim candlelit halls. A tense, intimate interaction between Solomon and Makeda. But Solomon, captivated by Makeda's beauty and sharp mind, wished to leave a legacy with her. The Kebra Nagast tells of a famous wager. Before Makeda was to return to her homeland, Solomon promised not to touch her by force, provided she did not take anything from his palace. Makeda laughed, agreeing, saying she had no need for his treasures. That night, Solomon ordered a feast of highly spiced, salty foods. As Makeda slept, she awoke with a burning thirst. She reached for a jar of water placed near her bed. Solomon appeared, catching her hand. "You have broken your oath," he said, "for water is the most precious treasure of my kingdom." On her journey back across the Red Sea, Makeda gave birth to a son, whom she named Bajna Lechem, meaning son of the wise man, known to history as Menelik I. Menelik grew up in the highlands of Ethiopia, trained in the arts of leadership, hunting, and spiritual devotion. When he reached manhood, he traveled to Jerusalem to meet his father. Solomon welcomed him with tears of joy, offering him the crown of Israel. But Menelik's heart belonged to his mother's empire. He chose to return to Ethiopia. According to Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo church tradition, this departure changed the spiritual axis of the world. Dismayed by the moral decay of Solomon's court, the sons of the temple priests, led by Azarias, the son of Zadok the high priest, decided to accompany Menelik. In secret, guided by divine will, they replaced the Ark of the Covenant with a wooden replica and carried the true Ark, containing the stone tablets given to Moses, back to Ethiopia. When Menelik arrived in Aksum, his mother Makeda abdicated the throne. She declared that henceforth only the descendants of Menelik of the Solomonic line should rule Ethiopia. Modern-day Aksum. The Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion. An ancient, heavily guarded chapel. White-robed Ethiopian Orthodox priests swinging incense burners, chanting in the ancient language of Ge'ez. To the secular world, Queen Sheba is a romanticized legend, a puzzle piece of ancient history. But in Ethiopia, she is the very foundation of identity. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church holds that the Ark of the Covenant still rests to this day in the Chapel of the Tablet in Aksum, guarded by a single consecrated monk who never leaves the sanctuary. This unbroken spiritual lineage, from Moses to Solomon to Makeda to the modern day, defines the oldest Christian nation in Africa. Montage of beautiful Ethiopian landscapes, historical ruins of Queen Sheba's palace, Dungar in Aksum, and faces of proud Ethiopian people. Queen Makeda was more than a ruler. She was the bridge between ancient covenants. Her quest for wisdom did not just change her life, It permanently anchored the divine presence of the Ark in the heart of Africa. She remains an eternal symbol of sovereignty, intellectual curiosity, and spiritual devotion. The Queen of the South, who rose from the highlands of Ethiopia to shock the ancient world and leave a legacy that time can never erase. The Queen of the South shall rise up in the judgment with this generation and shall condemn it, for she came from the uttermost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. Matthew chapter 12, verse 42. And so, the threads of history, faith, and mystery weave together into a single, undeniable truth. Queen Makeda, the Queen of Sheba, was not merely a ruler of a wealthy land. She was the architect of a divine destiny. Her quest for wisdom did not just bring knowledge to her empire. It forever altered the spiritual landscape of the world. Through her union with King Solomon, a sacred lineage was born. Her son, Ebna al-Hakim, the son of the wise man, known to history as Emperor Menelik I, carried home a legacy far greater than gold or silver. He brought with him the ultimate treasure of the heavens, the Ark of the Covenant, containing the very stone tablets given by God to Moses on Mount Sinai. For other empires, civilizations rose and crumbled into dust. But here, in the holy sanctuary of Aksum Sion, the sacred flame has never been extinguished. For over 3,000 years, through wars, invasions, and the rise and fall of global superpowers, Ethiopia has stood guard over this ancient covenant. 3 millennia of unbroken devotion. 3,000 years of a single consecrated guardian monk shielding the tablets of Moses from the eyes of the world. A story of the Queen of Sheba is not a relic of the past. It lives on in every ancient Gia's chant, in every beating drum, and in the silent, heavily guarded walls of Aksum Sion. The covenant remains, the legacy lives, and the Queen of the South still reigns in the heart of Africa's oldest empire. Ethiopia shall stretch out her hands unto God. Psalm chapter 68, verse 31. For over 3,000 years, the covenant of Aksum Sion remains unbroken.